Good evening, folks. Your bro Richie Rich here again. Tonight in this video, I'm back with another explanation video for y'all. And tonight, I'll be talking to you about a component. And tonight, I'll be talking to you about twin turbos. It should be interesting. Twin turbos. So, without any further ado, let's get started. So, twin turbos is a type of turbo layout. So, twin turbos is a type of turbo. Twin turbo is a type of turbo layout in which two turbos are used to compress the intake air slash fuel mixture. So the intake air fuel mixture or intake air in the case of a direct injection motor. So direct injection or direct injected motor. The most common layout features two identical or mirrored turbos. Two identical or mirrored turbos in parallel, each processing half of a uh V motors produced exhaust through independent piping. The two turbos can either be matching. So the two turbos can either be matching or different sizes. Next, we got types and combinations. There are three types of turbine setups used for twin turbo setups: parallel, sequential, and series. These could be applied to any of the 5 types of compressor setups, which theoretically could have 15 different setups. So we got compound, staged, compound, staged, so compound, staged, sequential, parallel, sequential, and just parallel. Speaking of which, we're on the next one, parallel. And speaking of the next one, which is parallel, or whatever. Speaking of the next one, we're on parallel. Sorry. So, in a parallel configuration, two equally sized turbos can receive half of the exhaust gases. Some designs combine the intake. Some designs combine the intake charge from each turbo in a single intake manifold, while others use a separate intake manifold for each turbo. Parallel configurations are well suited to V6 and V8s since each turbo can be assigned to one cylinder bank, reducing the amount of exhaust piping needed. In this case, each turbos fed exhaust gases by a separate exhaust manifold. For four cylinder and inline 6 motors, both turbos can be mounted to a single exhaust manifold. So for either four or 6 cylinder motors, both turbos can be mounted to a single exhaust manifold. The aim of using parallel twin turbos is to reduce. So the aim of using parallel twin turbos is to reduce turbo lag. By being able to use smaller turbos than if a single turbo is used for the motor. For example, a Porsche 935 Flat 6 uses parallel twin turbos, so it reduces turbo lag. So by being able to use smaller turbos than if a single turbo was used for. So by being able to use smaller turbos than if a single turbo is used for the motor. On motors with multiple cylinder banks, for example V and flat motors, use of parallel twin turbos can also simplify the exhaust system. For example, the 8194 Maserati Biturbo is the first production car to use twin turbos. Next, sequential turbocharging's setup in which the motor uses One turbo, one turbo for lower engine speeds, and either a second or both turbos at higher engine speeds, so at higher motor speeds. This system is intended to overcome the limitation of large turbos providing insufficient boost at low RPM. On the other hand, smaller turbos are effective at low RPM when there's less kinetic energy present in the exhaust gases, but are unable to provide the quantity of compressed intake gases required at higher RPM. Therefore, sequential turbo systems provide a way to decrease turbo lag without compromising power output at high RPM. The system's arranged so that a small primary turbo is active while the motor is operating at low RPM, which reduces the motor is operating at low RPM, which reduces the boost threshold RPM at which effective boosts provide and turbo lag. As RPM increases, a small amount, a small amount, a small amount of exhaust gases fed to a larger secondary turbo to bring it up to bring it up to operating speed. Then at a high RPM, all of the exhaust gases are to directed to the secondary turbo so that it can provide the boost required by the motor at high RPM. The first production car to use sequential turbos was the 8688 Porsche 959, which used sequential twin turbos on its flat 6. I believe it was a 2.8, 2.9 liter, I think. So twin turbos on its flat 6 motor. Last part is series, and I'll end it there. Series turbochargings, where the turbos are connected in series with the output of the first turbo being further compressed by the second turbo, and in some cases powering the larger turbine. A serial turbo can also be useful in a system where the output pressure must be greater than what could be provided by a single turbo, commonly called a compound twin turbo system. In this case, multiple similarly sized turbos are used in sequence but constantly operating. The first turbo boosts provides the initial compression, for example, to 3 times the intake pressure. Subsequent turbos, on the other hand, take the charge from the previous stage and compress it further, for example, to an additional 3 times intake pressure for a total boost of 9, so 9, almost 10 times the atmospheric pressure. Downside, so an issue of staged uh, turbochargings, that it often leads to a large amount of turbo lag. Therefore, it's mostly used on piston engine aircraft, which usually don't need to rapidly raise and lower motor speed, and thus where a turbo lag isn't a primary design consideration, and where the intake pressure is quite low due to pressure, low atmospheric pressure altitude, requiring a very high pressure ratio. High performance diesel motors also sometimes use this configuration since diesels don't suffer from pre-ignition issues and can therefore use high boost pressures. So usually when you add a big ass, a gigantic turbo, it takes so long to spool up. Then after that, it just spools up fast and boom, there's so much boost. With a small turbo, it just doesn't really take that long. It just spools fast, but doesn't really produce that much power, like that much boost pressure. Alright, so that is officially it for twin turbos. So, that'll be it. I'll see you guys soon in the next video. So if you like this video, like, subscribe, comment below what y'all think, hit the notification bell to also hit all see you later. Hit all see you later. I'm gonna make brain uploads. So that'll be it. See you guys soon. Good night.